video a couple of years ago on how to light up your niche. So if you want an LED strip inside of your niche to shine down onto your shampoo bottles and soap and stuff like that. So in that video that I made, what I showed was a strip that was already pre-enclosed into this very rigid structure, which I don't have to show you right now. But two things happened. One, we need a light that is 13 inches, and I think all I could get was 20. So they ended up selling me this 30-inch strip that is not encased, that doesn't have a frame around it. So it's not flimsy. It has this aluminum backer on it where they've already kind of pre-manufactured, so that somebody like me who doesn't want to do all the wiring and all the soldering and all that stuff doesn't have to go through all that. With the rolled strip, you would have to do that for sure, and you would have to get a transformer, etc., etc. So with these strips and the ones that I showed in that video, actually I have two videos. One I did a mock-up and one I did in an actual application. In that framed one, they have the two end wires here and the two end wires over here, as this one does, which is wonderful because you can basically wire it up from either end depending on what you need, and then you just snip off the part that you don't need at that point. So I like it because it's kind of all-inclusive type of thing, meaning that you don't have the transformer and all that stuff to worry about. So I'm going to actually go through a little bit of this explanation. So the transformer is a plug-in, and that's just wonderful because ideally I'm doing shower jobs in upstairs applications, so I have access to the attic. And in that one that I did in the real life, I just put in an extra box up in the attic, and I was just able to plug that in, which is wonderful. The issue and the problem becomes that how do you turn it off? Because there's no on and off button. There's no on and off button. So what he wanted was it hardwired up to the fan, so that people that want the light would have to turn on the fan, because I think it's an Airbnb or something like that. So he specifically wanted it hardwired, so that worked, because then we have a switch that just turns on the AC, alternate current. For a DC situation, which is what this is, you would need a DC switch, which again is problematic. So, lucky me, they came up with a remote. And so after I did those and depleted those lights that I had, I went back to the place and they said, oh, we got a remote now. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So with the remote, you can turn it on and off here. You don't need the switch. And then it has, the brightness. You can decide the brightness of the light. You can decide at 100% brightness or down to 25%. And then the mode, which is kind of weird, gives you, I think, probably half a dozen different modes. Flashing, flashing slow, flashing fast, flashing, all kinds of stuff. And then you can set the speed on that flashing too, plus or minus. So it's a little bit more than what you need. And I've seen other lights that have, and so yeah, this would be a dimmer as well. So other lights not only have a dimmer, but they also have multicolor. This is not multicolor. They didn't want that, and that's why I have this one. So for the remote, and this is the ease at which these are to be installed, there's no soldering required. So with the remote, you just simply find a place to plug it in, which I already have in my current shower. Oh, so I'm getting ready to install this, by the way. This isn't just like show and tell to show you how to do it, although I'm going through that process because I just think they're very cool, but I'm actually getting ready to install it. And so my customer has already put in an outlet on the other side of the wall of the shower that I can plug this in, and then it just requires a little very, very thin hole for the wire to go through. And you can actually extend this wire if you need more of it, obviously. And I didn't protect these because they're not touching, so I'm not worried about it. This is part of the remote. So if you did not want the remote, which I can't imagine why you wouldn't, except for that last guy that I told you about, if you didn't want the remote, then you could just hardwire it straight like that. And if you hardwire it straight like that, then yes, you're going to have to get a switch, a 12-volt switch, to make that happen. Or you could somehow rig it up on the end of this with your plug-in. you could figure out a way off and on switch. Regardless, this is kind of how, and I'm going to go through some of these cool little features that I just told you about. It is probably the simplest for people that are not electronically inclined to do soldering and stuff like that. I mean, I do bigger soldering, but the small little soldering and all that stuff, yeah, I'm not about all that. So now it is plugged in, it is live, and all I do is just turn it on. If I wanted it as bright as possible, if I wanted it 50%, if I want it 25%. The mode, which again is kind of weird, flashes, and then I can slow that down. And then the next mode would be something like this. I could speed that up because I don't know which mode that is. Yeah, so it kind of goes low and then dim and then bright and then dim and then bright. And I can lower that brightness too. I think I hit the wrong switch. There we go. Oh, that's a different mode altogether. And then here's another mode, which is kind of weird. Like, I don't know why you would need all this stuff. I really don't, but it's cool that they have it. That they have a capability of doing something like this at a very, very low cost, by the way. You know, so not only is it easy to install, as I've just shown, but it's also very, very low cost. Cutting these has to do with the line. See, incrementally, about every inch or so, there's a line. And if you cut these with something very, very sharp, which I happen to have, then you can cut right on that line, and you don't have to worry about, again, any soldering or any reconnect or anything like that. And so what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to cut my 13 inches from the wires going this direction, 13 inches or thereabouts, maybe a little less than that if I have to. And then I will have a second line that I can use in another job application because I have these two wires here. So it's just a beautiful thing. So what I was talking about doing silicone, you could do hot glue, but my take on it is that the light will eventually fail. There'll be some type of malfunction or something going on. So if you did hot glue right on top of this aluminum, good luck on getting that out. Although that could work, but I would still feel better with silicone because as much struggle as it would be to get the silicone out, it could be better done than with hot glue. Or likewise, that could be hot glue to the rail, and then the rail itself could be silicone to the top. And that's how I did the last one, because I just feel like there should be a possibility for you to pull it out if you need to, and the silicone makes that possible. So, stick on that. This is how it's going to set up there. Now, understand the tile is going to be done first on this niche. First the tile, then this is going to get recessed right up there, right there, and then the tile will go on the left, and the tile will go on the right, and tile will go on the top. So it'll be encapsulated, fully encapsulated between tile on all four sides, and then the light itself will just sit right up there. And with any luck, yes, it will be recessed. This is not where I want to cut, although I'm going to have to cut there because what happened, I have my 13-inch piece, actually just shy of 13, so I can get the tile left and right. Although it doesn't have to be that way. You could theoretically have the tile butt up against this on the left and right, but I've decided I want my tile on my left and right and for this to be recessed in between them as I showed already. So from end to end here, my line is about another 3/4 of an inch out. And since I don't have that 3/4 to spare, then my line ends up being here instead of over here. So kind of a weird little conundrum, but I'm gonna cut it here first just to make sure that I know what I'm doing and that this actually works. And then I think I might back up to there if I have to. Okay, I think I went just before that line. Yay! So So I didn't short it, but obviously it's a little longer than what I need. And so I'm gonna see if that'll work anyway. I'm gonna see if I can kind of reinvent what I'm doing here. If anybody wants one of these, then hit me up. Probably text or email is better. I mean, you could leave a comment in the comment section and I can kind of give you a heads up on pricing and all that stuff. But in the meantime, I still need to figure out how I'm going to get this longer one in here, which might mean that I got to cut one of these rails again, Schluter rail that I've repurposed for my purposes. All right, moving along. That Schluter strip that I told you I was going to use, my customer actually cut down to about a quarter, about a little better than a quarter inch, which is great that he was able to do that. That gave me the room that I needed to glue that up there, and literally I glued that up there. Actually, that's not true. He drilled a couple of holes and it got screwed up there, so it's pretty permanent, the strip is, and then it got caulking behind it. And then caulking went on the strip, and then I set the strip in there overnight so the caulking can dry, so it's nice and tight and where it's supposed to be. But it can also be torn off in the future. A little bit of room there. I don't know if the tile is going to cover that, but there's a little bit of room there to pull that off if need be, which is kind of the point. So go on the other side, and the hole that I had to drill also got some caulking both sides, and the wire got put through, and then the plug-in for the remote got put through these studs and through that stud and through this stud and all the way down to this outlet that he's going to eventually put in there. But in the meantime, I have it plugged in to an extension cord, and so that's how it's going to work. I think he's going to add some more wire to that, the red and the black wire coming off of that where it goes in the terminal. So he's going to add a little bit of a roll of wire just in case he needs to, and he's going to put, I think, a knockout or a panel there, so he has access to be able to do maintenance if he wants to. And I have my tile already pre-cut that is getting ready to get put in. So I have the flat side up against the strip itself, and by the time I get the thin set in there, it'll be recessed nicely, which is the whole plan. So yeah, turning out very well. I just set this bottom piece here like I would on a window, and there's a remote, so there it goes without the tile there. So with the tile there, it'll cover that front edge and it'll look very, very nice. It is all together and it is drying in fashion any which way you can make it happen. I use a lot of different, everything's a tool to me. everything to make this happen. It'll dry overnight and get grouted and it'll look nice and pretty. All right, the niche is finished. Finito. So if you look up under there, you can barely see because the light is recessed. So it would be difficult, but it can be taken out. That strip can be taken out later. But because it's recessed in, it just makes it kind of disappear. Also, I put some blue painter's tape on the last one I did and kind of gave a blue tint. So that's an idea too. If you want to put some type of lens on there, a red or a blue or green or yellow lens, that way you can get the lighting. Of course, they make those strips in different color lighting also. But yeah, it's pretty easy to make that happen. Let me see if I can do this. Is that 100%? I think that's 100% already. No, that's 100%. So you saw it just light up. So there's 50%, there's 25%, and then of course you can dim it down if you want to with brightness minuses all the way to almost nothing. And because I have a light in here, it's hard to see, but then I can just brighten it up for whatever reason you have. And just very cool. Like I said, the mode thing is really weird. See it flashing, and I can speed up the flashing if I wanted to. Why? I have no idea. Somebody would want to do that. And then the next mode, it just kind of dims on and off, and I can, let me see, I can dial that down on the speed so it dims slower. And then the next mode, isn't that weird? Like who really needs all this, right? But you know, Like I said before, it's kind of a beer light, basically is what it is. I don't know that a lot of people will end up using this for anything more than just a night light, but there you go. And that wraps up this video. I think I've talked more than enough already. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.